As I build my coaching business, I want to know how to effectively serve clients and make more money doing it. This podcast will pull back the curtain to reveal exactly how successful coaches are building their empires. Join me as I engage with top coaches from all over the world to discover their secrets. No theatrics and no theory, just real life strategy. My name is William Winterton, and this is Coaching Success Radio. Hey, what's up? Welcome to the program. William here, and today I've got my friend Vinnie, who was gracious enough to have me on his podcast a short while ago. And so now I thought, let's return the favor. Let's bring him on to the show. And he has some really incredible insights to share as a real estate investor, some of the things that I'm super passionate about as well, not just in real estate investing, but actually just building your business. And we've had some creative conversations about how, as coaches, we can integrate some of the knowledge he's experienced from building his own brand and business into helping you build and scale your coaching business. So I want to introduce Vinnie from the Enriquez Group. Vinnie, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Dude, it is awesome, man. It was awesome. It was a blast being on your show. I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, I guess now, and whenever the thing launches. But great having a conversation, and it's like it seemed like a loss not to bring you on and have you share some of your knowledge with my audience too. So like, let's make it happen.
Well, this excitement that you have was like full force throughout our podcast. I'm like, how do you do this? Is this coffee?
Yeah, a lot of coffee, Red Bull, and powdered sugar just all kind of mixed into a thing. So I want to hit with your story a little bit because I'm a real estate guy myself, and we were talking a little bit. But tell us a little bit about how the Enriquez Group kind of started, like the backstory of your business.
So I got into real estate, and I was a solo agent. For me, schedule has always been easy for me. Do my schedule, like give you an example. We talked about last when we were on my podcast, is that at the last minute, I got a call to go to Afghanistan, right? And I went to Afghanistan with a 3-day notice as a private contractor. And over there, I was able to save some money to actually get into real estate when I came back here. So I've always been, if I see opportunity, I'm just going to go for it, right? And I think the tough part about it is finding out, okay, well, what's the best opportunity to go after, right? So when I came back over here, I was a solo agent, and I could put my schedule on and treat it like a 9-to-5 job. So I was doing that, but I was kind of capping out. I was plateauing at a certain level of sales I could do. And I was like, okay, I got to find ways to leverage, right? And so I first started looking at, okay, let me leverage for an admin person. Let me leverage for marketing. Because I did only cold calling and only door knocking, right? And so open houses. And so I was like, okay, I got to find other ways to leverage this thing. So I tried these other platforms. I wasn't really getting the greatest return. I was like, okay, I got to leverage people. Because I have this knowledge base that I've accumulated. But I was afraid of it. I was scared to actually bring people along because I've always like, do my own thing, get things done with it. Even though I manage job sites, it was still a different thing. Now I have to do it again, but I have to do it in this other thing. And it was just, I was kind of scared of bringing that back on. And so I started bringing on people, and I brought on one person, and I saw the bright, like what they could be, but not really dissecting if they wanted to be there. Right. And that was, I think, a difficult thing that I had to start realizing. It's like, okay, I see where they can be if they want it. Yet do they actually want it? And so from that transition, I actually started bringing on other agents and now learning how to be a leader instead of basically a manager.
Got it. So basically, like you said, doing this stuff on your own, because again, you've got the skill set and you've got the ability and you've got the drive. Like you don't have to teach yourself how to be driven to do this. Like you're already driven to do this, but bringing people on, when you're talking about that, are you talking about just bringing other agents to try and cut some of your workload off, to try and grow yourself? Like what was the core reason for even doing that?
Yeah. So I was in Thailand, right? I was in Thailand, and I had, I don't know, like 8 deals like that in escrow at the time. And I forgot what the time difference was, but I was taking phone calls in the middle of the night, like dealing with basically files here. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I ever want to grow a family, or if I ever want to basically take trips and do those kind of enjoyment, those activities, I need to find some way to have these deals closed, right? And so from that point, I was like, okay, I need an admin person so they can take the calls and deal with that. And then I go, okay, well, if now the deals will close if I'm on a trip, but no new deals are going to actually happen if I'm on a trip. All right, so what I got to do next? Okay, I got to bring on agents, right? And so now the next point was like, I see so many people in the real estate field that are aware that agents have a quick fallout rate, right? I think used to be 95% after 3 years, and now it's like 75 or 80%, something like that, based off the stats you go with. So it's a pretty high fallout rate. So what you can do is you can just bring out a bunch of agents, right? teach them whatever you want to teach them, right? And then take their lead from them. And then with the idea that they're going to follow business anyways, year to 2 years, you're not putting too much time into them, but now you get their database. And I always thought that was like a negative way of treating another person. And so I was like, okay, what value am I going to offer to these agents to make sure that they're growing as a person and I'm actually giving them value for them to actually give me that piece of their pie?
Doesn't that build a better team, though, to have everybody in, like you just said, instead of trying to basically siphon out a bunch of leads from people who are bringing this to you just because they want employment, to actually build and nurture your own tribe, I guess, and actually have people doing the things you want to do in the culture you want to have? That just makes a better system all around, doesn't it?
Oh, I totally agree. And it's then you got to find out ways, okay, well, how do you keep them accountable? How do you make sure that all their needs are taken care of? And like all these different avenues. But these are things I didn't know, so you don't know what you don't know. And so you're like, all right, well, what's next? I mean, first I thought, okay, all these people are motivated, right? I'm motivated, so I got to think these people are going to be motivated. That's not the case. So you got to, okay, we got to do a coaching call. We got to do a daily coaching call. We got to do this. And so I'm just kind of growing with the people and finding out the best way of them leveraging myself and basically the admin to allow them to grow and feel like they're getting that want. Because there's an idea that as long as your bubble is big enough to support their bubble, they're never going to want to leave you. And so I just got to make sure it's growing.
I like that a lot. And like you said, it's really a support thing for everybody. I mean, the more they help you, the more they are feeling like they belong in your bubble, like you said. It's just going to help to really to kind of keep your whole system like a family almost. Like you're basically going to cultivate, like I said, this culture that grows you. So let's talk a little bit about how that gets started. So let's take this into the realm of just entrepreneurship. And I know people are wondering, like, why are we on here? If you're in the real estate world, I'm in the coaching game. To me, business is business in the sense of if you're trying to build and scale and grow and have success in it, there's certain things you've got to do, right? You've got to be able to hand things off to other people if it's not if that's not your major skill set. I assume your major skill set may not be like all the paperwork of closing a deal as opposed to finding leads. Or maybe there's certain things that you do really well and certain things you're like going, well, I do it because if I don't have closing docs, nothing gets done, right? I mean, it's like you got to have it. So you just find those things. So how do you start? I mean, like, how do you start even getting in that process of like finding your first person to go through? What process did you go to hire your first admin?
So I actually outsourced it because from everything that I've read about was the idea that it takes, 6 to 8 hours to actually go through the interview process to make sure you get the right person. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have I think everyone says it, ADD thing. And so I feel like I really do have that. Like I have 2 screens all the time and I'm making phone calls. And so I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do this. So I spent a couple $1,000s to basically outsource the process to someone in Florida. And so what they would do is they would have a conversation with people, a 30-minute conversation. Then after the conversation, they'll give me notes on the person. So I can read the notes, see what I thought about it. And then if I thought that they're still a good fit based on that, I could listen to the actual interview too, if I wanted to. And then I could tell them and they go to the next conversation with the person. They just coordinate another one. And so they do 3 rounds of it before they actually get to me. And so being that I knew that I just didn't have the attention span to do it, I outsourced it.
So you're basically outsourcing, trying to find somebody to outsource other stuff too. It's basically, yeah. And it's brilliant. It really is. And I don't think people think that direction. They're like, okay, well, if they got to bring somebody on, just like you, crap, I got to interview them. Crap, I got to make sure they're okay. Crap, I got to make sure they're not stealing it. Like all these things. Or I could hire a VA, somebody who doesn't, understand. I could just do that. But there are other ways of doing this, right? So,
yeah.
So
when I tried VAs and so actually when I was in Afghanistan, some of my crew were Filipinos, right? So I had a lot of different crews, and the language there was really no language barrier. We would talk and have conversations, and it was English, and they were really great English. So I was like, oh my gosh, man, I can get some VAs right now over there in the Philippines that they could be calling for me, because I remember the guys that I knew from the Philippines, they spoke English as a second language, just like we do. And so I try to hire VAs out there, and there's always like a language disconnect. Even though they spoke the same language, there were small nuances that they didn't pick up on when they were having conversations. So I had a difficult experience with that, though.
So the VA thing didn't work out. And because I know some people, depending on what you need, if the VA requirements are small enough. But if you're handling phones, leads coming in, or you're trying to handle closing docs, as opposed to somebody who just, I just want somebody who's going to do a very small, simple task of putting together, a quick presentation or putting together, the little things they can just handle.
Well, there's actually a guy I know. He does it for LinkedIn. He has a VA that basically all he does is send messages out on LinkedIn and talking like he's the guy and just saying, hey, we haven't talked for a little while. I just want to see how you're doing. When's a good time for us to touch base?
Yeah. I mean, it's a VA for everything, right? And so that's, I guess the whole general point is that people just don't get this. And I don't know why, but we get so stuck. And I think it's an entrepreneur thing. I think because of how we're wired, like, it's not getting done, so I'll just fix it. Just how I was raised, my mom was that same way. Like, she would show me how to do something, and to show me, she'd do it all. And then the next time I go to do it, like, I hadn't done it yet. So she's like, well, let me just do it again. And she would like teach me, but it took me forever because she never actually let me put my hands on it because she was still like, I'll just do it myself. And I think we're all kind of wired like that sometimes.
Okay, the way to get around this, I finally figured it out. Do you use BombBomb?
No, I do not.
So BombBomb, it's like a video platform. You can make videos and you can save them in the cloud and stuff like that. There's probably other platforms you can use, right? It's drip campaigns. But what I'll do is every time there's an activity that I want the admin or someone else to know about or how to do it, I do a video of me actually doing it, and then I send them the video. So they don't have to ask me, they just have to watch the video multiple times, and then I'm done.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So this is the screen capture that basically just records it. Here, do as I do, click these buttons.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. But we get hung up on that. And so I think that stunts the growth. I think it does because we don't put it out there, or we don't have somebody else doing it because we don't trust it. So now how
we're too good. We think we're the only one that can do it.
Right. Which is a complete lie, right? I mean, it's like, there's a couple ways of looking at that. Like, first of all, you're not the best at everything, and you're not supposed to be. You're like 2 or 3 things that you're really, really good at that you just want to do all the time, and everything else, like, outsource that crap out, and it's worth its weight in gold. So, yeah. Let's just find out now. How much of a team do you have now? How big is your group at the Enriquez Group?
So we got rid of the last 2 people or last 3 people end of last year because I was just trying to figure out how the process would go. Right now we have 3 agents as of 3 agents and 1 admin person.
Cool.
So next year the plan is to basically bring on a couple more and try and do it slowly, just so it's like there's a good balance and everyone's not stepping on each other's toes, because once you get that one bad egg, because I've seen other groups, and if you get one person that's like a negative influence, it just affects everyone else. So I'm trying to really do it slowly.
Brilliant. So I think if there's any other thing I would just mention in this is that as you're doing this, as you're building, just like you said, clearly not everybody's going to have the same drive. Not everybody's going to be fit, or they may be a perfect fit, but they find something else and they go off and do. How do you kind of handle that transition process in terms of, like, you're bringing people on into your business, you need to let them go, you need to transition them out, you get rid of them? Like, how does that kind of work in your flow?
So when they're transitioning out, it's the idea of, like, I have a great opportunity for you. The opportunity is the idea that you can basically start fresh, start anew, in all these other avenues, maybe try to get them a game plan for something else, yet slowly trying to tell them, hey, this is not going to be a good fit. I'm holding you back in where you're trying to get to. So I guess
that's awesome.
Framing the idea.
Yeah, because it's somebody's lifeblood to keep them going, but at the same time, there is a business and there is a strategy to what you're doing. So I love it, man. I think it's awesome. So what are your plans? Like, let's talk 5 years in the future, man. Where do you see your company?
So the idea, so we built out a podcast actually in January. So the Road to Growth podcast, where we had you on.
Yeah, it's a good show. You guys should listen. Just throw that out there, a little plug here for you.
And so for that platform, trying to slowly build that one out and keep kind of growing it out, maybe getting into a visual component later on. Then also bringing on team members to where so we have right now as 3 agents, each team member has their own specialty, their location specialty. They all have an understanding of, like, defaults, foreclosures, that kind of stuff, just because of my background in it. But they also live in different communities. So they live, some of them live 20 minutes, 30 minutes away from each other, all in San Diego County. And so if there's a lead that comes through for that community, they're going to be the point of contact for that buyer, whatever it might be, or the co-listing agent for that property. So slowly expand that out, have someone a little farther east, someone farther north, farther south, and then slowly expand that out. So it's just, yes, we all have this knowledge base, yet each person is the main point of contact for that community. Make sense?
That makes total sense. It's awesome. Let's just jump into real quick, since you mentioned your podcast. Let's talk about it for a second, because I happen to like podcasts as well. So I know a lot of people listening to this kind of see that. It feels like there's a step. Like you start off kind of doing your own stuff, then you maybe kind of blog or do some social media posts. And then eventually, if you think about a YouTube channel or podcast, like there's a ladder. It doesn't have to be. I know people who've just jumped right into YouTube or to it's whatever medium you feel. But kind of getting that going, what was the trigger that got pulled to make that podcast actually a real thing for you?
So being again that we talked to so many people that have defaults, foreclosures, sometimes they don't have actual need to buy or sell. Most people 5 to 7 years looking to buy or sell, right? So sometimes you're in that window, but you're still trying to bring some kind of value to them, right? Tell their story, get their story out there, whatever it might be. Also, with bringing on the new team members and doing a little bit of coaching, so I do a little real estate coaching too, nothing shabby, but the one thing that I realized with those people I was teaching was they saw everything on social media, saw how easy it was for every single business owner or real estate agent or whatever. Oh my gosh, just sold another deal. And reality is it's the same property that's been listed multiple times, but they have it posted 10 times, right? And so they're just like, oh my gosh, I'm doing horrible because I haven't closed a deal or I haven't closed a deal recently. And so I was like, and I could speak to them blue in the face, yet they wouldn't believe me that the other person was having troubles too. So I was like, okay, well, I got these people that have great stories, and then I have a way to basically tell their stories of overcoming adversity. And so what I did is I basically went on Fiverr. If you haven't gone on Fiverr, great source. So I went on there and I found a person that will teach you how to do a podcast, right? Paid him some money, and he did a video for me, showed me how to do it. And this is all like in December, and then in January, I basically got like a couple of interviews together and just kind of went for it. So it was,
yeah, just taking action. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Vinnie, dude, what could people go if people are interested in knowing more about your game? You're obviously the Enriquez Group. You got your show. We can put that stuff in the show notes, but specifically for anybody, and maybe just for me again, as a real estate investor, what do you specifically invest in? What kind of property are you looking for?
I mean, reality is it's the deal. I mean, it's the deal. Like in San Diego, the adding permits to a property can be very difficult, right? But if the margins are great, then whatever, you do it. You take the risk, right? If it's just basically a patch and paint job, then you're gonna want probably like a 5% cap or something like that, right? So it's really based off the project. So if someone's looking for a quick close, those are always great right there because they make it easy. If the person's underwater, people, at least in California for short sales, it's a great avenue right there. If you're even on the borderline of being underwater, it could be a great avenue to do a short sale for about 6 months to a year, drag it out, stay there for free. Sorry for cussing. Stay there for free, and then you possibly can get some relocation based off of the lender that you're working with. So I mean, stuff like that are going to be, I think, the cleanest routes to go. And it really does pay to have someone that knows the ins and outs of foreclosures, for probate, for that kind of stuff. And the funny thing is, so I got to tell you a quick story right here. So
yeah, go for it.
So we call defaults all the time, and there's a guy that he had a really nice property. The property was probably worth, I don't know, $900,000, $850,000, right? He had the property paid off, but I think it was like taxes or something like that. But he only owed, it was like $50,000 or $100,000, a very minimal amount of number, right? And so I call him up and talking to him. I'm just like, hey, your property's going into foreclosure. You got to take care of it. He goes, no, don't worry, man. They can't foreclose on me. I only owe this minimal amount. And I probably deserve so much more. And so I call him up all over next thing you know is like 4 months go by. He gets foreclosed on. He loses his house, loses everything. He tried to call me afterwards. I'm like, well, if you have the money to actually buy it back, you still have that 90 days of retention or to buy the property back after 90 days. But he's like, I don't have the money. I was like, well, I mean, then you're kind of stuck. Like, and so it's just crazy. People don't know what they don't know.
It's the blinders that we put on ourselves. And I guess if this translates over to anything that we're talking about in business as well, the more I've done coaching, the more I realize that coaching and real estate actually have so much in common. There's so many things that go on. And I think what I'm hearing that I'd pull out of this is that people put the blinders on if there's a problem, right? If you've got a system in your coaching business, if you got a funnel that's not converting, if you're spending $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 a month on Facebook ads and not converting, I mean, there's always leaky buckets somewhere that's not working. And the same thing in real estate. If you've got a house, you're like, no, they can't foreclose on me, or it's not going to be that bad, or I'll sell it when the market goes, whatever like that. You just put the blind, like I worked with foreclosures too, and people put the blinders on. Like if I hide from it, if I put my head in the sand, it's not going to happen. And that's wrong. It's going to happen to you no matter what.
Well, I'll even add to that too, is we're inundated with so much information, right? There used to be the idea that 12 touches for a client that you're following up with was suffice. And now it's like a 32 and 36. And I think someone was telling me the other day it's like a 40 something now touch, right? So we're inundated with so much information, right? So what's happening is these people, like you're talking about, like coaches or whoever it might be, they're getting all this information about this is how you should do your Facebook ads. This is how you should do your Facebook. And so you're just like, F it. I can't do this. I'm getting so much information. I can't choose which one to go forward with. I'm just gonna skip it. I'm gonna go with something else. And the same thing with real estate. Like, I mean, this guy was probably told by so many different people, all these different facts, all this information. He's like, forget it. Blah, blah.
Yeah, it's awesome. One of my favorite stories of real estate is that when we first got into this whole business, there's a guy who we went over to his house and we're like, again, we did the door knocking thing. We're hanging notes. I did all this stuff. We buy houses, all that stuff, and everything like that. And hanging the signs and knocking on doors for dollars kind of thing. And knocking this guy's house, and his little daughter, she had to be like 4 or 5 years old, comes running out. And the guy comes out in like a pair of Bermuda shorts and a t-shirt. He's like, hey, what's up? I'm like, and it was a nice house. Like, it was Tucson nice. It's not San Diego nice. Like, it was probably like $200,000 or $300,000, which is probably like a single 1-bedroom apartment in San Diego. But it was like $200,000 or $300,000. And I'm like, hey, just to let you know, you're on the foreclosure list. He's like, what? And it turns out it was a house that he'd inherited from his parents, and he didn't realize. He thought everything was covered and taken care of. But because I went over there and talked to him, I was like, look, it's on this list. It's going to the foreclosure soon. He had no idea. So he was able to call, get all this stuff figured out. And he actually called me like a month later. He's like, man, I would not have known. I would have just it would have totally blindsided me. So thanks so much. So I didn't get a house. I didn't get a sale out of a deal out of it. But it's like, the idea was like, seriously, any business you're in, just like when you said going through and getting realtors to come work for you and trying to incorporate them and acclimate them to your culture rather than just bringing people in, sucking the life out of them and then tossing them out. There's so much more value, and it seems so counterintuitive. It seems like you're taught that as a capitalist, as a money-making machine, you're just supposed to go in and shoot people up and spit them out. And that's kind of maybe the mythology, like the Scrooge McDuck kind of a thing, that what used to exist. But the money is made the more you can serve and the more you can help your employees, your customers, your prospects, even people who don't pay you. And I don't know, what do you call it? Karma, call it whatever you want to call it. But the money is there whenever you do the good and you serve and you're legit and you are ethical. I have known more people. I've made more money doing that than I ever would think of, going and trying to screw somebody over, because it's just how the world works anymore, especially with social proof and social media.
It's one, yeah, exactly. It's one and done. Like, if you screw someone over, there's karma.
Yeah.
And there really is karma. Like, oh, so okay. So you're talking about death, right? The person who got the money. For people listening out there, I mean, it's sometimes people don't know, if your significant other passed away, step up clause. It'll help you out with your base for the taxes.
What? Say that again, slower. What is it? Step
up clause. So if your significant other passes away, let's say you bought the property at $100,000, now it's worth $1 million, but your significant other passes away, now your new baseline's $1 million at that current value. So you can save on basically your capital gain when you sell the property. A lot of people don't know that. I'm just trying to throw the karma out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
that's huge. I've never dealt with anybody with that, but I've heard a step up clause, and it's actually, it's legit. It's just, but who thinks about that, right? Who thinks about their loved one, especially, when they're our age and thinking like, okay, we're just gonna, go on the next 50 years. It happens. Life takes turns sometimes, and we don't think about that in those types of times, right? We just kind of go on and we're dealing with everything else. But yeah, there are pieces like that. So I would just throw out here, dude, my conversation with you has been awesome. This is the second time I've talked to you. If you guys are interested, Vinnie Enriquez, his stuff is awesome. His podcast is great. The guy's legit. He cares about people. He actually cares about getting this done right. And I'm just super proud that you came on a show, man, and just was like, hey, you don't coach. I don't really do the real estate thing anymore, but we're going to make this work. And I think there was a crap ton of value that was dropped. And I think it was awesome, man. I just love the conversation.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate you having me on, man. I thought it was great. And come on, any of your guests, how can they go wrong with so much excitement that you provide?
It's just awesome, man. We're going to have a good time. I don't care what you're talking about. Yeah, we're going to have a good time. We're going to have fun. So it's cool, man. Hey, you take care of yourself. Thanks again.
All right, thanks.
Wow, that was awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in and checking us out. New episodes are coming out every few days, including lots of conversations with massively successful coaches sharing their secrets with you. So be sure to subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel so that you don't miss out. And if you're looking for a way to start making serious money from your coaching, you need to check out my free training. It's at williamwinterton.com. I lay out the step-by-step on how to start making 5 figures a month in the next 60 days. Check it out, WilliamWinterton.com. I'll see you next time.